On a cloudy spring morning in Atlanta, Maria Santos was getting ready for another day of work. At 30 years old and with a routine full of challenges, she put on her cleaning uniform and packed her bag with cleaning supplies. She had grown accustomed to the fast pace of her job, but today felt different. There was a tension in the air that Maria couldn't quite pinpoint. The home of Jamal and Aisha, located in a quiet neighborhood, was large and elegant, with well-kept gardens and an imposing facade. Maria arrived promptly at 8 a.m., as she always did. When she opened the door, she was greeted with a brief smile from Aisha, a 32-year-old woman with a confident demeanor, though she seemed a bit distant today. "Good morning, Aisha. How are you?" Maria asked, trying to strike up a friendly conversation. "Good morning, Maria. We're fine, thank you. The coffee is in the kitchen," Aisha replied, before turning away as if she was in a hurry. Maria headed to the kitchen and prepared her cleaning equipment while the couple argued softly in the living room. Jamal, Aisha's husband, was also 32, tall, and had a commanding presence. The conversation between him and Aisha seemed tense, with words blending into an incomprehensible murmur for Maria. As she dusted the furniture, Maria caught snippets of their discussion. "I'm not saying you don't try, but sometimes it seems like you don't understand what's at stake here." Jamal's voice was firm but not hostile. "And what do you expect me to do?" Aisha responded, frustration evident in her voice. "I'm already doing my best." As Maria started cleaning the furniture, their argument grew more heated. The conversation reached a peak of tension. "I'm not asking for much, Jamal, just a little more understanding," Aisha said, her voice now noticeably irate. Jamal muttered something unintelligible and, without warning, turned abruptly, almost bumping into Maria. She flinched instinctively, but tried to stay calm and continue her work. "Maria, can you help me with this?" Jamal said brusquely, handing her a bucket and a cloth. "These supplies need to be reorganized. And please, be more careful with what you do. We don't need any more problems today." Maria felt a chill from the tone Jamal used. She tried not to take it personally, but the way he addressed her was far from friendly. Still, she made an effort to complete the task as best as she could. "Sure, Jamal. I'll take care of it now," Maria replied, her voice a bit quieter than usual. The work continued with a growing sense of discomfort. Jamal and Aisha kept arguing quietly, while Maria focused on her tasks. By noon, when Maria was almost done, a small incident occurred. She accidentally knocked over a bottle of glass cleaner, and the liquid spilled onto the kitchen floor, creating a puddle. The sound of the bottle hitting the ground drew Aisha's attention, and she approached with an irritated expression. Jamal, who was nearby, also turned to see what happened. "Look what you've done," Aisha exclaimed, her tone filled with frustration. "Now we have to clean all of this up?" Maria tried to apologize, but Jamal's stern look made her feel even more embarrassed. "You need to be more careful," Jamal said, his voice leaving no room for argument. "This isn't acceptable." The atmosphere became even more charged. Maria, with a trembling voice, hurried to clean up the spill, but the emotional impact of the moment was clear on her face. "I'm sorry, I'll clean this up right away," Maria said, her voice almost a whisper. As Maria worked to fix the mistake, the tension in the house seemed almost tangible. What started as a minor accident had turned into a public humiliation for Maria. The day was far from over, and the feeling of discomfort seemed to only increase. The following days passed with a disturbing regularity for Maria. Jamal and Aisha's house seemed to have become a place where tension was palpable. Each morning, upon entering the house, Maria felt a subtle change in the atmosphere, a sort of invisible pressure that made her feel uncomfortable. On the third day after the cleaning product incident, Maria was in the living room, vacuuming. Jamal and Aisha were in the kitchen, and Maria could hear snippets of their conversation, though she tried not to listen. "I can't believe this happened. I really thought she would be more careful," Jamal was saying, his voice filled with irritation. "And I told you it would be better if we hired someone more reliable," Aisha replied, her tone dripping with disdain. Maria gripped the vacuum cleaner tighter and tried to ignore the conversation. However, Aisha's comment made her feel even more uncomfortable. The sense of being discussed as if she weren't there was humiliating. She struggled to keep her focus on her work, but the words were like thorns, disturbing her state of mind. When she finished in the living room, Maria headed to the bathroom to start cleaning. The door was slightly ajar, and as she opened it, she found Aisha inside, talking on the phone. Maria tried to quietly step aside to avoid interrupting, but she couldn't help but overhear. "Yes, the cleaning lady we have here. Yes, a white woman. She doesn't seem to be very careful," Aisha was saying in a low tone, but the choice of words was clear. "Sometimes it seems like she's not really paying attention to what she's doing." Maria felt a pang in her chest. She forced herself to continue her task, though her confidence was shaken. Aisha's phone call left her feeling unjustly criticized. By the end of the day, as Maria was organizing the cleaning supplies, Jamal came into the kitchen with a tense look. He seemed to be carrying the weight of an unspoken concern. "Maria, can you come here for a minute?" Jamal called, his voice less friendly than usual. Maria approached, her heart racing. Jamal was next to a cabinet where Maria had placed some cleaning products. "Look, I need you to be more careful with these items," Jamal said, pointing to the products. "They're not in the right place, and you should already know where everything goes." Maria took a deep breath to calm herself. "Understood, Jamal. I'll reorganize everything," Maria said, her voice sounding firmer than she felt. "And one more thing," Jamal continued, his expression not softening. "If you have any problems or questions, let us know before making any decisions. We don't want any more surprises." Maria nodded, her mind still grappling with frustration. "Yes, of course. I'll do that." As she worked to reorganize the cabinet, Maria felt a weight on her shoulders. It was as if every task was being scrutinized and every move was under a microscope. The sense of not living up to expectations was overwhelming. The next morning, as Maria prepared for work, she received a message from her friend Carla. "How are things at work? You seem more stressed lately. Want to talk later?" Maria quickly replied, appreciating the support and promising to call as soon as she finished her day. She knew she needed to vent to handle the growing feeling of discomfort and disrespect. At the end of the day, as Maria was about to leave Jamal and Aisha's house, she encountered Aisha at the door, who looked distracted but managed a forced smile. "Maria, don't forget to check if all the lights are off when you leave," Aisha said, her voice tinged with hidden irritation. "Of course, Aisha. I'll make sure of it," Maria replied, trying to keep a professional tone. As Maria walked away from the house, the sun was high and bright, but the sense of oppression felt heavier than the warmth of the day. Every step away from the house was a relief, but also carried an emotional weight. She knew that the incident with the cleaning product wasn't just an accident. It was a reflection of something deeper, something that needed to be addressed. The following day started like any other for Maria Santos, but the emotional weight of the cleaning product incident still lingered. After a grueling day, she returned to her small apartment in Atlanta, where peace felt more like a distant memory than a reality. The apartment, simple and cozy, offered a temporary refuge but couldn't erase the humiliation and discomfort Maria felt. Maria threw her bag into a corner and sank heavily onto the couch. Staring at the ceiling, she lost herself in thought. The day's heat still clung to her bones, and she was so exhausted she barely had the energy to prepare a meal. Her gaze fixed on the opposite wall, which seemed to be the only solace she could find. Her phone buzzed on the coffee table, breaking the silence. It was a message from Carla, her closest friend. "How was your day today? You seem to be carrying an extra weight." Maria sighed and decided to reply. "It was tough. I had an incident at work, and things seem to be getting worse. I don't know what I'm doing wrong." Carla responded quickly. "Do you want to talk about it? I can come over later." Maria glanced at the phone screen, feeling a wave of relief and gratitude. She typed back quickly, "Yes, please. I need to vent." A few hours later, Carla arrived. She was a 31-year-old woman with a calm presence and a natural ability to listen. When she entered Maria's apartment, she was greeted with a warm hug. "Hey, Maria. How are you?" Carla asked, her voice soft and concerned. "Hey, Carla. I'm okay. Just tired," Maria replied, indicating the couch. "Sit down. I need to talk about what happened." Carla settled in and looked at Maria attentively. So, what happened? Carla encouraged. Maria began to recount the incident with Jamal and Aisha, her voice wavering as she relived the moments of tension and frustration. I spilled a bottle of glass cleaner, and suddenly it felt like the world was crashing down on me, Maria explained. Her voice choked. Jamal and Aisha, they just lost patience and started treating me like I was incompetent. Carla listened intently, her expression serious. And how did you feel? She asked, trying to help Maria explore her emotions. I felt humiliated and disrespected, Maria replied, tears beginning to form in her eyes, like I was nothing more than a nuisance to them. Carla took Maria's hand and squeezed it gently. That must have been really hard. But it's important to remember that sometimes people act like that because of their own frustrations, not necessarily because you're not doing a good job, Carla said, trying to offer some perspective. Maria shook her head, trying to absorb Carla's words. I know, but I can't help feeling like I'm failing. I feel like everything I do isn't good enough for them. That's understandable, Carla agreed. But what's important is not letting this experience define your worth. You're a dedicated and competent professional. Sometimes, other people's behavior reflects more about them than about you. Maria took a deep breath and wiped away a tear that had rolled down her cheek. Thank you, Carla. I need to remember that. Sometimes it's hard not to take things personally, especially when it seems like everything is against you. Carla smiled with empathy. Yes, it's tough, but you'll get through this. And if you need more support, I'll be here for you. The conversation continued for a while longer, with Carla providing comfort and advice, and Maria feeling a gradual sense of relief. By the end of the visit, Maria felt a bit stronger, knowing she wasn't alone. When Carla left, Maria was alone again, but with a new perspective. Though the pain and frustration were still present, she was starting to see a way to handle the situation more balancedly. She knew she would face more challenges, but she also felt she had the support needed to face them. The days dragged on for Maria, who was starting to get used to the constant tension in Jamal and Aisha's house. Despite her efforts to keep her head down and do her job as best as she could, the environment remained charged. The incident with the cleaning product seemed to have left an indelible mark on her routine. The following afternoon, Maria decided she needed to vent, and the first person she turned to was Carla. They met for coffee at a local bistro, a place Maria frequented for a bit of tranquility. Carla was waiting at the table, her concern evident. Hi, Maria. Please have a seat, Carla said, standing to greet her. How are you feeling today? Hi, Carla. I'm still a bit shaken, Maria replied, sitting down and picking up the menu. I think the incident with Jamal and Aisha is affecting me more than I thought. I understand. People tend to be harsher when they're stressed, but that doesn't make it any easier for you, Carla commented, looking at Maria with empathy. After placing their orders, Maria began to share the latest developments. Today, after work, I decided to talk to some friends and family about what happened. I needed to know if it was just me, or if what I went through was really out of the ordinary. Carla leaned forward, interested. And how did they react? Well, most were supportive, but opinions varied, Maria explained. My sister, for instance, thought I should speak directly with Jamal and Aisha and express how I feel. But my friend Marcos thinks I should consider looking for another job if the situation doesn't improve. Carla looked thoughtful. It's a tough dilemma. The most important thing is not to let the situation define your value or self-esteem. Sometimes, the best thing to do is to find a way to protect yourself emotionally. Yes, I know. I just don't know the best approach right now. I feel like the situation is consuming me, Maria admitted, feeling the weight of Carla's words. That night, Maria decided to call her mother, Dona Teresa. The conversation was brief, but full of wise advice. Maria, dear, I understand you're going through a tough time, Dona Teresa said on the phone. But remember that your job and your worth are not defined by others. You are an amazing and dedicated person. Thank you, Mom. I really needed to hear that. I'm just feeling so drained, Maria responded, her voice lighter. Life has its ups and downs. The important thing is to take care of yourself and make the decisions that are best for you. And if you need help, I'm always here, Dona Teresa said with warm sincerity. After talking to her mother, Maria felt a slight relief. Her mother's words helped her see the situation from a new perspective. The next day, Maria decided she needed to put her feelings into words and started writing in her journal, something she hadn't done in a while. The act of writing was cathartic, allowing her to organize her thoughts and emotions. When Maria walked into Jamal and Aisha's house the next morning, the atmosphere was as tense as ever, but she felt a bit stronger emotionally. She decided not to let the treatment she was receiving define her perception of herself. During the coffee break, Jamal approached her, apparently trying to ease the tension a bit. "Maria, just so you know, we're adjusting some schedules. We want to avoid you having to deal with difficult situations while we're busy." Maria looked at Jamal, a bit surprised by the attempt to ease the situation. "I understand. I'll adapt as best as I can," Maria replied, her voice showing a mix of gratitude and caution. In the afternoon, Maria was approached by Aisha in the kitchen, who brought her an extra coffee with a hesitant smile. "I thought you might want some extra coffee. I know work has been tough," Aisha said, her voice a bit softer than before. Maria accepted the coffee, a small gesture of reconciliation, and smiled slightly. "Thank you, Aisha. I appreciate it." Although the tension wasn't entirely gone, small signs of an attempt to improve began to appear. Maria knew the situation still required a lot of patience and reflection, but she was starting to see that there might be a way to handle the discomfort and find a balance. The supportive words from her friends and family and Aisha's small gesture provided welcome relief amid the turmoil. The weather in Atlanta was beginning to change with the arrival of summer, bringing intense heat that made the city streets buzz. Maria Santos, meanwhile, continued her daily routine at Jamal and Aisha's house, trying to cope with the charged environment and complex interactions. The next morning, Maria was in the garden, working to clean up the fallen leaves and debris that had accumulated. The day's heat made the task seem more arduous, and Maria was sweating under the relentless sun. As she focused on the task, she could hear laughter and conversations coming from the pool area, where Jamal and Aisha were chatting with some friends. Suddenly, Maria heard the sound of glass breaking. She looked over and saw one of Jamal's friends, a tall, well-dressed man, quickly rising from the pool area with a broken glass scattered around him. Aisha, looking nervous, headed towards the broken glass, while Jamal approached Maria with a concerned expression. "Maria, can you come over here for a moment?" Jamal called out, his voice tinged with urgency. Maria left the garden and walked over, feeling a growing sense of nervousness. "Yes, Jamal, what happened?" Maria asked. Jamal pointed to the broken glass on the ground. "We need to clean this up immediately. We can't leave this glass here. Someone could get hurt," he said, his tone firm but not as harsh as before. "Sure, I'll take care of it right away," Maria replied, as she crouched down to start cleaning up the glass. As she worked, Aisha approached, looking concerned. "Maria, I just want to make sure you're careful not to cut yourself. These glass shards can be really dangerous," Aisha said, her voice carrying genuine worry. "I understand, Aisha. I'll be careful," Maria replied, focusing on her task. While Maria worked, Jamal's friends continued to enjoy the pool. The scene seemed at odds with Maria's efforts to clean up the broken glass. When she finally finished, her fingers were lightly cut and covered in dirt. As she stood up to step away, one of Jamal's friends, a man named Derek, approached and made a comment that Maria found unsettling. "You're always here, aren't you? It seems like you're always distracting us with your cleaning. Maybe you should be a bit more discreet," Derek said, with a casual tone that came across as insensitive to Maria. Maria tried to stay calm, though Derek's comment had bothered her. "I'm just doing my job, Derek. I'm here to make sure everything is in order," Maria replied, her voice tense. Derek shrugged and went back to the pool, leaving Maria with an even deeper sense of discomfort. The situation seemed out of control, and despite the small gestures of reconciliation, the tension in the house persisted. By the end of the day, Maria was approached by Aisha in the kitchen, who seemed to have a more solemn tone. "Maria, I want to apologize for today. I know the situation at the pool was complicated, and you handled a lot," Aisha began, her voice filled with regret. "Don't worry, Aisha. I understand that accidents happen," Maria replied, trying to be understanding. "I know it might seem like we haven't been fair to you sometimes. We're dealing with a lot, and maybe we haven't been the most sensitive, Aisha said, with a more sincere tone. If there's anything we can do to improve things, please let us know. Maria was surprised by the offer, feeling a small sense of relief. I appreciate that, Aisha. Just knowing that you're willing to improve the situation helps. I'll keep doing my best, and if I have any issues, I'll let you know. Aisha's gesture provided Maria with some comfort. Although the situation wasn't entirely resolved, she felt that the environment was starting to become a bit more receptive. As Maria left the house, the heat of the day was easing, and the relief of being able to go home was accompanied by a renewed hope that things might improve. Aisha's interaction and her acknowledgement of the difficulties gave Maria a sense of hope. She knew the road ahead would still be long, but small steps like this were crucial in starting to rebuild trust and respect in her work environment. The atmosphere in Jamal and Aisha's house seemed slightly lighter after the pool incident. The summer heat in Atlanta was still intense, but Maria felt a new determination to handle her work environment. Aisha's effort to smooth things over gave her a glimmer of hope. The next morning, Maria arrived early, before Jamal and Aisha started their day. She was determined to begin the day on a positive note. During breakfast, Jamal and Aisha were in the kitchen, conversing with a lightness Maria hadn't noticed in recent weeks. "Good morning, Maria," Aisha said with a friendly smile. "I hope you slept well." "Good morning, Aisha." "Yes, I'm doing well, thank you," Maria replied. Feeling a slight relief in Aisha's tone, Jamal entered the kitchen and, seeing Maria, offered a more genuine smile than usual. "Maria, have you had breakfast yet? If not, feel free to help yourself," Jamal said, placing a cup of coffee by the coffee maker. "Thanks, Jamal. I'll have some," Maria replied, taking a cup and serving herself. The morning was calm and incident-free, and Maria felt like things were finally starting to improve. Throughout the day, she worked diligently to keep the house immaculate, leaving no room for mistakes. The sense that something was changing in her relationship with Jamal and Aisha was palpable. Around noon, while Maria was in the living room, arranging cushions and cleaning surfaces, Aisha approached with a serious but kind expression. "Maria, I wanted to talk to you about how we can make the work environment more comfortable for all of us," Aisha began. Looking directly at Maria, Maria turned, a bit surprised but willing to listen. "Sure, Aisha. I'm listening," Maria replied, setting aside her work and preparing for the conversation. "I've noticed that the past week has been particularly tough," Aisha continued, "and I'd like to know if there's anything we can do to help improve things. Sometimes, things can seem more complicated than they really are, and we want to make sure you feel more comfortable." Maria smiled, feeling relieved by the openness of the conversation. "I really appreciate that, Aisha. I think what affected me most was the lack of communication and the tense atmosphere. If we could address any issues more directly and openly, it would help a lot," Maria said, her voice full of sincerity. Aisha nodded, taking note of the feedback. "I understand. We'll try to maintain clearer communication. And if you have any issues, don't hesitate to let us know right away," Aisha assured. Jamal, who had overheard the conversation, approached and joined in. "I want to apologize if we've been too rigid recently. Sometimes, we're so focused on our own concerns that we forget how it affects others," Jamal said with a tone of regret. "I understand, Jamal. And I'm also learning how to handle the situation. I appreciate your willingness to improve communication," Maria replied. Later, Maria was taking a break in the garden when a small group of Jamal and Aisha's friends came by. Among them was Derek, the man who had made the insensitive comment earlier. He seemed more relaxed and approached Maria with a different attitude. "Hey, Maria. I'm sorry for being a bit harsh with you last time. I've been thinking about it and realized it wasn't fair," Derek said, with a more humble tone. Maria looked at him, surprised but grateful for the acknowledgement. "Thank you, Derek. I really appreciate your honesty. We all have tough days, and a bit of understanding makes a big difference," Maria replied. Derek smiled and walked away, and Maria felt a small weight lift off her shoulders. The interactions with others, though still complex, seemed to be gradually improving. As the day came to a close, Maria felt more hopeful than she had in weeks. She knew that change wouldn't happen overnight and that there would still be challenges, but Jamal and Aisha's efforts to create a more open environment and Derek's acknowledgement were positive steps toward a healthier atmosphere. Maria went home with a renewed sense of hope and a feeling that perhaps things were finally starting to align. She knew the road ahead would still be long, but open communication and a willingness to resolve conflicts were promising signs that real change was happening. The summer heat in Atlanta continued to dominate, but the atmosphere inside Jamal and Aisha's house seemed to be calming down. The weeks that followed the discussions and the glass incident were quieter. Maria felt that her relationship with Jamal and Aisha was stabilizing, but a new challenge was about to emerge. On a particularly hot Friday morning, Maria was busy in the kitchen, preparing the house for the day. Jamal and Aisha were out, occupied with personal commitments, which gave Maria a chance to clean and organize without additional pressure. The environment was calm, and Maria was focused on her task when she heard the sound of conversation coming from the front of the house. Jamal walked into the kitchen with a serious expression, followed by Aisha, who looked anxious. Both were dressed more formally than usual, indicating they were preparing for an important event. "Maria, can we talk to you for a moment?" Jamal asked, with a tone that suggested something serious was about to be discussed. Maria stopped what she was doing and turned to them, sensing that something was unusual. "Of course, Jamal. What's going on?" Maria asked, feeling a hint of tension. Jamal and Aisha sat down at the kitchen table, and Maria joined them, trying to understand the situation. "Well, we have something important to discuss," Aisha began, her voice nervous. "Recently, we've had an offer to sell the house and move to another city. It's a big opportunity for us, but we want to make sure you're aware of how this might affect you." Maria looked at them, confused. "Sell the house? But why?" Maria asked, her mind racing to understand the sudden change. "A company has offered Jamal a transfer to an office in Houston," Aisha explained. "This means we'd need to move. We wanted to discuss this with you because we know it could impact your job, and we want to know how you feel about it." Jamal, watching Maria closely, added, "Our intention is to ensure you have time to adjust and find a new position if necessary. We can offer a severance package and time to assist you during the transition. We want to make this change as smooth as possible for you." Maria took a deep breath, considering the offer and the impact of the move on her life. Although the offer was generous, she knew she would need time to adapt to the new situation. "I appreciate the consideration and the offer of help," Maria said. "I really do. However, I'll need some time to think about everything and plan my next steps." "Of course, Maria. There's no rush. We want to make sure you have all the support you need during this period," Jamal said with a sympathetic look. Aisha added, "If you need anything else or have more questions, don't hesitate to reach out. We're here to help." Maria felt relieved by Jamal and Aisha's willingness to support her. Although the news of the move was surprising and challenging, their support made the situation more manageable. As Maria went back to her work, her mind was filled with thoughts about the future. What seemed like a difficult transition now felt a bit more manageable, thanks to Jamal and Aisha's support. By the end of the day, Maria decided to talk with Carla and a few close friends to get advice and perspectives on how to handle the move. Jamal and Aisha's decision had brought new uncertainties, but it also presented an opportunity for her to explore new possibilities. With the support she had received, Maria began to prepare for the next chapter of her life, feeling that despite the challenges, she was being respected and supported in her journey. The news of Jamal and Aisha's move was starting to become a reality for Maria. With their generous offer and support, Maria felt she had a solid foundation for making the transition. However, she knew there were still many details to resolve and decisions to make. The following week, Maria met with Carla at a cafe to discuss her options and plan her next steps. Carla was excited to help and offered a safe space for Maria to express her thoughts and concerns. "So, how are you feeling about this whole change?" Carla asked, stirring her coffee. "I'm still processing everything," Maria replied, looking at her cup of coffee. Jamal and Aisha's offer is generous, but having to look for a new job and deal with such a big move is a bit overwhelming. Carla nodded empathetically. "I understand. Moving can be really challenging. What are you thinking about in terms of employment?" "Well, I've started updating my resume and looking for opportunities at other companies. I'm also considering whether I should move to Houston with them or stay in Atlanta, Maria explained, feeling the pressure of the decision. Carla smiled encouragingly. It's great that you're already taking steps. Remember, the most important thing is to find something that aligns with your goals and desires. And if you need help with your resume or preparing for interviews, I'm here to assist. Thank you, Carla. That means a lot to me, Maria said, relieved by the offer of support. The rest of the afternoon was spent discussing strategies and options, with Carla helping Maria organize her thoughts and priorities. When Maria left the cafe, she felt more confident and prepared to face the challenges ahead. At Jamal and Aisha's house, the move was in full swing. Boxes were stacked in the hallways, and the walls were starting to look bare. Maria was still working there, helping with daily tasks as the house prepared for sale. On a particularly busy morning, Aisha approached Maria with a look of concern. Maria, I wanted to check in and see how you're handling everything. Aisha began with an attentive look. I know the move is a big adjustment, and I want to make sure you're getting the support you need. I'm managing the situation, Maria replied, trying to show a positive attitude. I've started looking for new opportunities and am trying to organize myself for what's next. That's good to hear. If there's anything more we can do to help during this transition, please let us know, Aisha said with a sincerity that Maria appreciated. Thank you, Aisha. For now, I'm focused on finding a new position and dealing with the move, Maria replied. As Maria prepared for the challenges ahead, Jamal made sure to express his gratitude. Maria, I just wanted to thank you for everything you've done to make our lives easier during this transition. You've been a great help, and we know this situation hasn't been easy for you, Jamal said with a grateful look. You don't need to thank me, Jamal. I'm just doing my job. But I appreciate your words, Maria replied, touched by the gesture. The preparations for the move continued, and Maria found herself torn between helping pack the house and preparing for the next phase of her life. The stress and uncertainty were present, but the solidarity from Jamal and Aisha, as well as the support from Carla and her friends, helped ease the pressure. As the moving date approached, Maria began to accept the idea that she was about to start a new chapter. The decision to stay or move to Houston was still open, but Maria was doing her best to prepare for all possibilities. With the continued help of her friends and the support from Jamal and Aisha, Maria began to feel more optimistic. She knew that while the move was challenging, it also represented an opportunity for growth and new experiences. The journey was far from over, but Maria was learning to face the challenges with courage and hope. The day of Jamal and Aisha's move was finally approaching, and the house was in a state of near-total disarray, with boxes piled up and furniture covered. Maria was working hard to help with the final organization and cleaning. The sense that the move was becoming an unavoidable reality was palpable. On a Saturday morning, Maria found a moment of tranquility while she was in the garden, enjoying a brief break before starting work again. Carla, aware of the stress and imminent move, decided to visit to offer additional support and check in on how things were going. Hi, Maria. How are you handling all this chaos? Carla asked, approaching with a concerned expression. Hi, Carla. It's a madhouse here. The house is almost ready to be sold, and I'm still trying to figure out what to do next, Maria replied, trying to stay calm as she looked at the mess around her. I understand. How's the job search going? And have you decided whether you'll move to Houston or stay in Atlanta? Carla asked, her tone full of empathy. The search is going well, but I'm still unsure about moving or staying, Maria admitted, sitting down in a garden chair. There's something about Atlanta that makes me want to stay. Carla sat down next to Maria, offering a listening ear. You have to decide what's best for you in the long run. And remember, there's no right or wrong decision here. Just what makes the most sense for you right now, Carla said, trying to relieve the pressure Maria was feeling. On the same day, Jamal and Aisha were in the final stages of packing their things and preparing to leave. Aisha decided to talk to Maria about the situation and how they could help make the transition smoother. Maria, we want to make sure you're okay and that you have all the information you need to make your decision, Aisha said while organizing some boxes in the living room. If you need more time or help finding a new job, please let us know. I really appreciate that, Aisha. I'm trying to get organized and also reflect on whether I should move to Houston or stay in Atlanta, Maria replied. Jamal, who was nearby, approached and also wanted to offer words of encouragement. Maria, if you need a recommendation or any other kind of support while you make your transition, I'm here to help, Jamal said with a tone of sincerity. Thank you, Jamal. That means a lot to me, Maria said, feeling grateful for the support. As the weekend approached, Maria decided it was time to make a decision. She made a list of the pros and cons of moving to Houston versus staying in Atlanta. This process of reflection helped her evaluate her priorities and weigh her options more clearly. On Sunday evening, Maria arranged a last-minute meeting with Carla to discuss her decision. They met at a quiet cafe, where Maria was ready to share her conclusions. So, Maria, have you made a decision? Carla asked as they sat down for coffee. Maria took a deep breath and smiled slightly. Yes, I have. I decided that, for now, I'm going to stay in Atlanta. I like the city and my friends here, and I've also found a job opportunity that seems like a good fit for me, Maria explained, her voice filled with relief. That's great, Maria. I'm glad you found an option that makes you feel comfortable and happy. And I know you'll continue to do well in your new journey, Carla said, with an encouraging smile. The next morning, Maria said her goodbyes to Jamal and Aisha, who were ready to embark on their new life in Houston. She felt a mix of sadness and gratitude for the experience she had with them. Good luck in Houston, Jamal and Aisha. I hope everything goes well for you, Maria said sincerely. Thank you, Maria. And good luck to you too. We're happy to have had the chance to work with you and wish you all the best, Aisha replied with a warm smile. If you need anything or want to stay in touch, just know I'm only a phone call away, Jamal added. Maria watched as they left, feeling a sense of closure. Although the transition had been challenging, she was excited to begin this new chapter of her life in Atlanta. With a new job in sight and a plan for the future, Maria was ready to move forward and embrace the new opportunities ahead. The summer's heat was slowly fading, and Atlanta was beginning to feel the arrival of the cooler autumn breeze. The city was transitioning, and Maria was starting to experience a new phase in her life. After Jamal and Aisha's departure, she found herself with a new job and a fresh perspective on the future. On a Tuesday morning, Maria was at her new workplace, a small consulting firm that was just beginning to establish itself in the city. She was excited and a little nervous, ready to face the challenges and embrace the new opportunities. As she adjusted to the new environment, her manager, Claire, came over to welcome her. Good morning, Maria. I just wanted to welcome you to the team. I'm really excited to have you with us, Claire said with a warm smile. Thank you, Claire. I'm very excited to start and contribute to the team, Maria replied, trying to hide her nervousness. Great. If you need anything or have any questions, my door is always open, Claire offered, with an encouraging tone. The first days at the new job were a whirlwind of meetings, training, and team integration. Maria was adjusting to the fast-paced work environment and getting to know her new colleagues. Among them was Mark, a coworker who quickly became her friend and ally. During lunch at a nearby cafe, Maria and Mark talked about their experiences and what they hoped for the future. So, how are you liking the new job so far? Mark asked, as he played with his food. I'm really enjoying it. It's a dynamic environment, and everyone has been very welcoming, Maria replied, appreciating the food and company. But I'm still adjusting. The change was big, and I'm trying to find my balance. I get it. I went through something similar when I started here. It takes time to adjust, but you'll get there, Mark said with an encouraging smile. If you need any help or want to explore the city, I'm here for that. Thanks, Mark. That means a lot to me, Maria said, relieved by the potential friendship. As Maria began to settle into her new job, she also made time to explore Atlanta, rediscovering the places she loved and discovering new ones. On a Saturday afternoon, she decided to visit a local market where she found a small craft fair. The atmosphere was vibrant and full of energy, and Maria was delighted by the new discoveries. At the market, Maria ran into Carla, who was buying some local products. They greeted each other with a warm hug. Maria, what a surprise to see you here, Carla exclaimed, smiling. Carla, it's great to see you too. I'm exploring the city a bit and discovering new places, Maria said with enthusiasm. Atlanta has so many wonderful surprises. How are things going with your new job and your new life? Carla asked, Curious. It's going well. The job is keeping me busy, and I'm starting to feel more comfortable with the new routine, Maria replied, feeling grateful for Carla's concern. I'm glad to hear that. Sometimes, changes can be tough, but they can also bring exciting new opportunities, Carla said with an encouraging tone. As they wandered through the market and talked, Maria felt a sense of contentment. Although the change had been difficult and full of challenges, she was beginning to adapt and find new positive aspects of her life. By the end of the afternoon, Maria and Carla said their goodbyes and each went on their way. Maria returned home, reflecting on the journey she had been through. Although Jamal and Aisha's departure had been a significant milestone, she was learning to appreciate the new phase of her life and the new friendships she was building. The future was still full of uncertainties, but Maria felt she was moving in the right direction. With a new job, new friends, and a city full of possibilities, she was ready to face the upcoming challenges and take advantage of the opportunities that lay ahead. That night, as Maria went to bed, she reflected on the journey from the move to the present moment. She knew the road ahead would still have its challenges, but with the support of friends and the experience she had gained, she was prepared to face whatever came her way. With a sense of accomplishment and optimism, Maria was ready for the next chapter of her life, eager to explore new opportunities and grow even more.